All right, if you've got a big downturn coming, stocks, the economy, both, who do you trust? You trust the business guy or the anti-business guy? Joining us now to talk about that, Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, Steve Moore, Committee to Unleash Prosperity Hotline, More Money on WABC Radio, and Steve Forbes, media chairman and editor-in-chief, Fox News contributor. Anyway, kids, Art Laffer, I want to start with you. You're a market guy and a philosopher. It's why we like you. You can swing both ways. Who do you trust? If this thing is going to collapse, I don't know that it's going to collapse. We're on the front end of a recession, and we're on the front end of what looks like it could be a bear market. Who do you want? You want the business person, or do you want the anti-business person?
Well, I don't want the person who brought you to the crash. That's what I really don't want, Larry. And these people have brought you to the crash with bad policies. And, you know, it happens to be they're the anti-business people. They weren't any good. They were no different than Hoover. In my mind, slightly less damaging, but the same type of policies. And they're no good for the economy. I'd trust Trump every day of the week and twice on Sunday for bringing us a good economy.
Steve Forbes, why is this cracking up?
I think it's a realization, one. Kamala Harris could win. I don't think she will, but there's market has to put that in. Also, Japan is in trouble. They're way over in debt, worse than ours. And that market, you saw 12% down yesterday, realizing, and I think that's dragged everything else down. And a realization, the rest of the world is in poor economic shape. And where's the growth prospects coming from?
Where are they coming from?
It has to come from the U.S.
In terms of those in power, I don't see one thing. Just pause on this one. The word growth does not enter into the lexicon of Mr. Biden or Ms. Harris. You never hear that. Trump at the convention talked endlessly about growth and growth, tax cuts and tax cuts, growth and growth. I mean, he's the only guy on the world stage, I think, much less the political stage here in the States, who talks the language of growth.
Well, that's true. And also it put in the policies of growth, i.e. cut taxes. And this is where the danger comes in. If Kamala Harris got in, she doesn't need Congress. She's got the regulatory state behind her. And they've demonstrated with college debt and the like, they'll just go and do what they want. Heck with the courts, what the courts say. So we're going to have an avalanche of regulation. We won't be able to get rid of the stuff that has been put down our throats now. That's going to really bear down on the economy. So we're in for a real big downturn. And if we're down, the world is down. And so we have to lead the world out of it, just as we did in the 1980s with Ronald Reagan, pro-growth policies. And also they got to start paying attention to the Federal Reserve. Get over this idea you have to depress the economy to conquer inflation. No, just remove regulations, have a stable dollar, cut taxes. By golly, good things will happen.
Well, cutting interest rates is not going to be the solution to anything. That could reinflate, if anything.
Or just keep a stable dollar.
Stable dollar. Steve Moore, you're a long-time editorial writer for the Wall Street Journal, okay? You know it's coming here. So today, I just want to ask you, today, our friends, they're very good friends of ours, okay? They come out against Trump's idea of reducing the Social Security benefits tax, which could be indexed to inflation. It hasn't been in 40 years. The threshold was $25,000 with a bump up to $35,000. That has not been changed. If you did change that, the new basis for inflation today would be $80,000, okay, which would be a nice middle-class tax cut and would reduce the overall tax burden on retirees so they would go out and work and produce. Now, how in the Lord's name can that be bad?
Yeah, I like the policy, and I think that when you look at seniors who, let's say, are between the ages of 63 and 70, or even a little bit higher in age, half of them are still working or collecting or investing. And, we're an aging population, so we'd like to see people who want to continue to work stay working. That's a good way to stay healthy, by the way. And the policy today, I want to make sure your viewers understand this, because I don't think anybody in Washington understands it. The average tax rate on somebody who continues to work after the age of 63 or 64, who's collecting Social Security benefits, can be 50 or 60 or 70%, Larry. Those are the highest tax rates of any worker in the American economy. We fixed a little bit of the problem under Clinton when we got rid of some of the earnings tests. But my feeling is this is unfair. It is unfair to seniors. I think it would be a great policy for those who want to continue to work, let's encourage that. Let's not punish them with these very high taxes. So I think the Journal got it wrong today.
Be mindful that all of us have already paid the Social Security tax for the last 40 or 50 years, and we're being asked to double tax it. I mean, I'm not going to mess with the earnings tax at this point in time. It's very complicated.
Yeah, right.
But the simple look, Art Laffer, you've written a whole book on this. The simple idea of indexing, of inflation indexing, a threshold, a tax threshold that hasn't been touched in 40 years. How can that be bad? I mean, the Journal has turned into green eye shades. They are completely wrong on this. These things would benefit. I mean, welfare improved, safe, your psychic improved. I mean, look, I don't know. Everybody, no. 3 out of the 4 of the people in this segment are, shall we say, senior citizens. How's that? I got one at least over 80. I got a couple in their 70s. And then
I'm 64 now.
Then I got one high school kid who's only 64 years old. Okay. But, Arthur, I mean, I think that, and the bigger point I'm making is, Trump's the business guy. I think at this point in time in history, we need a business person at the helm. That's really what I'm asking, Art Laffer.
Yeah, we do, and I wish he'd chosen Steve Forbes as his running mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Steve, I loved your opening comments.
Now you're cooking.
What we need to do is we need to index tax rates. We need to lower tax rates on working output and employment and continue the Trump agenda of business first. You know, what he did on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is second to nothing in history. I mean, he cut those tax rates from 35 to 21. He cut the personal income tax. We need more and more and more of that. What we need to do is bring people off the sidelines, back into the labor force. We need to get this country growing and going again. And in the interim there, we need to treat seniors, especially people over 80 years old, say moi. We need to treat them really nicely. You guys be polite and sweet to me all the time. Say yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, ma'am, all that stuff.
You know
but we do need to treat seniors correctly. And Trump knows how to do it. He is a senior, by the way, and I don't think Kamala Harris is, so there you go. I'd treat a senior
80 is
better
the new
to
60.
seniors than
80,
that's true.
80 is the new 60, or at least we can hope about that. But Steve
in many ways, guys, I'm younger than all of you, just for the record.
Well, we
just
got one
record.
high school kid on the segment, for heaven's sakes. I don't know what to do with him. Steve Forbes, though, I mean, I don't think it's unfair. Maybe it is, but I said in my opening riff that Kamala Harris is anti-business. I think she hates business. I think Joe Biden hates business. Maybe I'm not 100% right, but I've seen nothing in their policies over the past 3.5 years to suggest that they like business or understand the central role of business in our economy. Remember our old friend, the late, great Jack Kemp used to say, Democrats love employment. They just don't like the employers who create the jobs. That, to me, is still the Democratic mantra, or worse.
Yeah, they just take business for granted that somehow everything's going to be
Right.
done. It's like you go to the grocery store, you just assume everything's there. You have no idea how it gets there, who produces and makes it all happen. So they have no appreciation for it. They just see it as a bunch of scoundrels to be fleeced for their own programs. And one of the things the new Congress has to do, hopefully Republican, is get rid of these crazy budget rules that prevent the Republicans from having real tax cuts and go through the pretzel exercise you had to go through to get the 2017 tax cut through, 10 years and 8 years and all that kind of stuff, and scoring that has no real world relevance. So we get a good, clean tax cut, and you'll see, as we had in the 60s and the 1980s, America being great again. And if we're doing great, the rest of the world will follow our example, just as it did in the 1980s.
That's a really important point. Steve Moore, why do you think stock market went down so much the last 3 days? You believe it's a recession threat? The unemployment rate is pointing towards recession. Recessions breed profits. Profits are the mother's milk of stocks. I mean, do you buy that?
I'm not going to say recession because all the economists were wrong in 2023.
I said recession threat. Recession threat.
Yeah. So, but I would say this, that Trump tweeted out today, or I should say, what's his Truth Social, that this was the Kamala crash. And look, I think there is a bit of truth to that, Larry. You know, 10, 12 days ago, Trump had about a 12-point lead, and now it's down to about a 1-point lead because of this, something I've never seen before in my 30 years of following politics, where they treat Kamala Harris like she's Mother Teresa in the press. But I think that, look, it gets to your point. Kamala Harris is bad for business. She's bad for investors. She's bad for the stock market. So I think there's a little bit of convulsion there among investors who are getting very nervous about the prospect that this woman actually could be president. But I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm a little younger than my friend Art Laffer, because I don't really remember the Herbert Hoover regime.
Oh, God. I got that. That's
but
right.
I know Arthur was there.
They say Nancy Pelosi says Joe Biden should be on Mount Rushmore. Okay, let's leave it at that. Art Laffer, you've been giving market advice for a long time in your newsletters and your business. What advice would you give right now?
Well, right now, just to really answer the question about Trump versus Kamala Harris. Trump has actually written checks that other people have received.
Right.
Kamala Harris has only received checks that other people have written. She's never been in an entrepreneurial position. She's never really relied on markets. She's only been on one end of checks, and that's receiving government checks, not writing checks for employers and employees. And right now, my view is, I think Steve's completely correct. I think it's the rise of Kamala Harris that has scared the heck out of people, and they're now reassessing the market prospects because of a possibility of a Harris ticket. I think that is really what you're seeing, and Steve's right on that.
All right, Steve's right on that. We'll end on that note. Steve's right on that. We found something. Steve Moore, thank you. Art Laffer, Steve Forbes, we appreciate it very, very much.